Hello there. All right. Welcome to the library, everyone. Let's get the show on the road. There we go. We're all in view at this point. As you can see, Lenny is still in his St. Patrick's Day garb, and he will be for another week at least. Victor's back there hanging out as usual. And Victor will have a little bit too to wear next week. But to start things off, I want to say thank you for joining me, and let me say hello to everyone that's here. Vincent Capisci, Maureen, Delilah, Mustang Mike, Tommy Stiggs, Gianni, Arlene, Tony the Night Owl. Who else is here? I saw some other people here. Edwin, good to see you, my friend. Anybody else that I missed? There's 14 people here. 14 people have not commented, though. Tammy, good to see you. Gerard, my friend, is here. Osada Treats. All right. Great to see everybody. Thank you for stopping in. Tonight, we're going to talk about Oregon ghost stories from the great state of Oregon. Not far from Osada, I guess. He's out there on the Pacific Northwest. So let's light our candles, if I can get this lit. There we go. And we'll get started. So next week, I'm going to do Irish ghost stories for St. Patrick's Day. So tune in for that. The thumbnail's already up if you want to click notify. All right, there we go. That's a little better. I don't know what's happening here. We're having a little trouble getting started. Come on, let's go. There you go. All right. How are you? All right. All right. So tonight we are going to the great state of Oregon. And I have 4 tales for you, which I hope you will enjoy. Lenny likes them. So I think you will too. All right. The first one that Tony Silo, good to see you. Just saw that you came in. All right. Our first story is called The Ghost Horse Thief of Scapanonia Park. Now, Scapanonia Park is located in Verona, Oregon. And our story starts in the late 1800s when stealing a horse was a big deal, obviously. As you may know, people were hanged for that all over the country back then in the 1800s and prior, because the horse was such a vital part of people's existence. To steal a horse meant you were affecting someone's livelihood, possibly putting them out of work, stranding them, they could die, a whole host of things that made it such a capital crime. Well, our story, like I said, takes place in the late 1800s. And there was a drifter we don't know the name of. I don't know the name of this person, but he was a drifter that wandered into Veronica, Oregon, or in the Scapanonia Park, Scapanonia area, which is part of it. It's in Veronia. Interesting. Veronia, not Verona. Veronia, Oregon. And this drifter also was accompanied by a dog. This dog would follow him anywhere he went and everywhere he went. It was his travel companion. And as he drifted from territory to territory, this dog would follow him. And he became a fixture in this particular region for a while, doing odd jobs here and there, moving around a lot. And then suddenly people started to notice that horses seemed to be disappearing. And like I said, this is a major problem back then. People aren't going to sit still for this. And it was ascertained that this individual was stealing these horses and selling them. And that's really how he was making his living. These odd jobs that he would get fired from all the time weren't the main goal here, right? It was really a front or a cover for him stealing these horses. So word gets out that they've discovered who the horse thief is, and a mob forms in the town at the time because justice needs to be served somehow. And the law is not there yet. At this time, there is no law. It's just the people that live there. So the mob takes it in their hands and they chase him. And they chase him for miles, actually, until he gets cornered at the Nehalem River, Nehalem River. And it's at this particular time he's cornered at this river where the mob gets him. And this is when it gets ugly because the mob is ready with its rope and they find the nearest tree and they take care of our ghost, well, our soon to be ghost horse thief. And unfortunately, they shoot his dog too, which I don't even know why they would do that. But I guess in the rage of the moment, they shot his dog too. So the poor thing was killed too, just for being around with this horse thief, hanging around with this horse thief. So let me show you what it looks like in the area which I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Where are we here? Wait a minute, that's not right. How did that happen? Hold on. I did not want to do that. I did not want to do that. I don't know what that was about. All right, let's try it again. Where are we? Here we go. Now, this is the bridge that's still there today over the river at the spot where he was cornered. Let's see if I can make that bigger for you. It's not much, but you can tell it's a creepy place. As you can see, this is taken in winter, so there's snow on the ground. Everything's frosty, so it makes it a little bit more creepy. But regardless, this is the wooden bridge that's across here. It wasn't there at the time, but this is the spot where he gets cornered by the mob and meets his end. And he's actually buried under a tree. Now, that tree is no longer there, but it is said that both he and the dog were buried right there on the spot where he lost his life. And that tree was not far from this bridge. Now, this bridge obviously was built well after that. But let me see. I think I have another actual picture of the area, which is a little bit better. Hold on here. What am I doing here? Let's go back to that. I thought I had a better picture, but I guess I don't. Well, anyway. But you get the gist of that's where it was. So what's the ghost story, right? What's the ghost story? Well, it is said that since this happened, the ghost of this individual seems to rise at night. Both him and the dog rise from the spot in which they were buried. Their bones were buried. And they begin to walk and stroll along the riverbank of the Nehalem River. Now, this ghost is not particularly troublesome. In fact, many campers have noticed and spotted this guy because this is a good camping spot. The fishing is good. A lot of people go to the park and camp there. And a lot of times there are these stories that in the early morning hours, people will be up early to go fishing, and they'll encounter a man walking along the banks with his dog, just strolling along, often carrying a stick or for the dog to chase. But the clothing that the individual wears is a bit strange. It's a bit old. It's a bit 1800s. 1800s-ish. So people tend to look at him a bit odd, like what is going on here? Some will say they will even greeted him and spoke to him. And he doesn't say much. He simply nods his head or says good day or something like that. But they all say that as they part company and walk away into the distance, he and the dog vanish at the same time into thin air. So it's a creepy encounter that occurs along the banks on a repetitive nature. So multiple campers have encountered this individual there, and it's believed that he is the spirit of that ghost thief who lost his life so many years ago in Scapanona Park, Oregon. So that's our first story, the ghost horse thief of Scapanona. All right. That's number one. All right, let's go on to number two. Now, these stories get a little bit more in depth as we go along. That was the easiest one, the shortest one. I usually do that first. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Paulie. How are you? Hello, Marta. How are you? Good to see you guys. Thank you for joining. I don't know if I missed anyone else that came in. I hope not. I see Johnny's talking about, these people shooting the dog. Who knows? Mob violence, right? Mob mentality. It's out of control. Things get out of control. So, all right. So let's go on to the second one. Now, the second story is called The Witch's Castle of Forest Park, Oregon. Now, let's start off by showing you a picture of what the Witch's Castle is, because this is an actual site in Forest Park, another park in Oregon. But this is what the Witch's Castle looks like. As you can see, it is a stone structure in the misty Northwest woods, Pacific Northwest woods, all moss growing on it, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a creepy looking structure in a creepy looking place in a ravine along the side of a mountain. Very creepy looking place. And of course, it gets the name of the Witch's Castle. Let me think. I think I definitely have another one of these. Hold on. Another picture of this. Now, unfortunately, it is not the best, but I want to make sure I show you so you get a good idea of what I'm talking about here. There's another angle. This is another angle of the Witch's Castle. So it's a creepy structure indeed. And it is said that it is haunted by the spirit of a witch. Now, let's get into the backstory here, because I think you're going to find it pretty interesting. So let's minimize that. Now, this Witch's Castle is not a witch's castle at all. In fact, what it is an old ranger station that was built, an old park ranger station that was built in the 1930s or 1920s. I think it was during the Depression, during the 30s. And it fell into disrepair after a storm hit it and destroyed the inside. And the Park Service just let it go, and it started to deteriorate into basically a ruin of what looked like a castle. But the backstory that gets us the ghost is related to this only because it didn't actually happen here, but it's right next door to it. Right next door to it is where the real story happens, which generates the ghost. So let's get into that. So this story takes place in 1850. Now, at that time, a family by the name of Balch, Balch, moves into this area, stakes a claim on this land. Now, remember, in 1850, this is open land. It's a territory. It's not a state or anything like that at that point. It's prior to the Civil War. So people can go out and stake a claim and build their empire, et cetera, build whatever they want to do. So The Balch family, Balch, Balch, consists of the father, Danford, his wife, and 9 children. Quite a lot, right? Even for then, quite a lot. 9 children. So they move out. He moves out. Danford moves out to this area moves west across the Oregon Trail and hits and finds this area to stake a claim. Now, let me show you something else. Here actually is what the marker looks like that is where the actual Balch house is next to there. It's a little hard to see because it's taken in like dark limb area, but this is a marker that's put out there, a kind of like a tombstone, I guess. It's engraved and it's out there where it marks the spot where the Balch homestead was, which is right next to where the witch's castle is. All right. So, so what's the story around Balch? Well, Balch, in order to clear this land and build a farm or build whatever he wanted to do, he had to hire some help. His children were still young. His oldest was a girl, but only 15 years old. So there wasn't much help for him there. Uh, he had to hire someone. Well, an individual comes down from Vancouver, Canada, by the name of Mortimer Stump, and meets Danford by accident on a trail passing through. And Danford asks him if he would like to work for him, help him clear the land. He will pay him, he'll be a hired man, etc., etc. Well, he does. He agrees to do this, and they begin to clear the land. And this goes on for a while, and they become quite close. They're basically carving a life out of the wilderness. Now, unfortunately, what happens during this time is he gets close to the Stump gets close to the entire family, and he ends up falling in love with the 15-year-old daughter of Danford. And he and the daughter go to Danford, Balch. Danford is the first name. I didn't want to sound like the last name, but go to Balch and his wife and ask permission to be married. Now, remember, at this time, you can marry a 15-year-old. This was not, especially out there, they could legally have gotten married if the parents gave permission. Well, Balch is not interested at all in hearing about this and doesn't like this at all. He thinks his daughter's way too young and he does not want this marriage happening. So him and his wife give a sounding no to the request to get married. Well, unfortunately, his daughter, Anna, was so in love with Stump that she convinces Stump to go and elope and take off to Canada. And they do that one night. They go when everyone's asleep, they go off into the night and they cross the border and go into Canada and are married in Canada. Well, Balch is beside himself and enraged about this and vows to anyone who would hear him that if he ever sees Stump again, he will take his life. Well, he gets that opportunity because around 1858, the couple returns to the states, returns to Oregon. Well, it's not a state yet, but it returns to the territory of Oregon. And so happens to, at that time, Stump runs into Danford. Can you imagine the odds? Runs into Danford. They were coming home. I mean, they were coming back into Oregon, but they were not coming to specifically meet the family because they knew the family didn't want them getting married and etc. But they happened to meet by accident. Well, Balch is beside himself, gets a shotgun and points it at Stump's head and blasts away. And thus Stump ceases to exist. Now, I'll show you, which I should have showed you before, and I apologize I didn't do it yet. But here, There is a reenactment that was done about this legend, or it's not a legend; it's an actual story, actually. And here's a picture of the reenactment of the elopement of Anna Balch and Mortimer Stump. As you could see, the witch's castle in the background. This obviously wasn't there when this happened, but it's all part of the reenactment, right? So, Stump is dead. What happens? Well, Balch is arrested and charged with murder, first degree murder. And he is jailed in the local municipalities type of homemade thing. It's just a wooden jail put together, and he escapes and he takes off. And a posse is out to get him, and eventually the posse does capture him. And Sheriff or Marshal, what's his name here? I forgot the guy's name. Brings him back, and he brings him back alive. And Marshal James Lappius captures him with a posse and brings him back alive. He's tried and he's sentenced to hang. Now, Balch's defense during this trial was that his wife was actually a witch and bewitched him to do this murder, that he did not want to do this and he was beyond his control. He was under the spell of his wife, who put this spell upon him. She was a practicing witch, and therefore he should be innocent. Well, the jury did not buy this, and he was sentenced to be hanged. In fact, this is and it's October 17th, 1859, when he's actually hanged. And this was the first legally recorded hanging or execution in Oregon as a territory at the time. So, where does that leave us? Well, we have two dead folk. We have Stump and Balch that are dead, right? And we have an accused witch. What happens? Well, the wife is found to not have been a witch. There was an inquiry done, or I found that she was not a witch. So it's kind of a misnomer that this is called the witch's castle, because the witch comes from that accusation by Balch against his wife. But there really wasn't a witch. It was just Balch hating the fact that his daughter married someone against his will and felt betrayed by Stump. So what's the activity? Well, it is said that if you go to this area, you go to the witch's castle, you go to the area surrounding that in that park, you will get a feeling of uneasiness. You will see floating lights of all different colors at night. Inexplainable how they're there, these lights. Shadows will be darting in and out all over the place. And it is said that at midnight, some folks have seen the spirits of Stump and Balch reincarnated and engaged in a physical battle, as if for eternity they are at odds, battling. Two spirits going back and forth, wrestling and making a scene of what could have happened if that shotgun wasn't there. And they actually had a physical altercation. And that seems to be repeating itself at midnight every night from here until who knows when. And of that battle between the two of them, it is said that every now and then you will see Stump will win and sometimes Balch will win. So who knows? Some people say Balch wins, some people say Stump wins. But the fact is that these spirits come out at night at midnight and they do this eternal battle, for they hated each other and they both felt that they were unjust. They both suffered an injustice at each other's hands, and that they're willing to go after it to rectify that injustice to eternity. So there you have the story of the Witch's Castle of Forest Park. Danford Balch and Mortimer Stump, two spirits locked in eternal battle forever, I guess. All right, so there you have your second story. Excuse me for a second. All right. Let's see. I mean, Chris Trock, welcome, Chris Trock. See No Evil is here. Bobo is here. Good to see you. Who else is here? Did I miss anyone? I hope not. All right, good. Todd Father stopping in. I know he's working. Good to see you. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Now, let's go on to our third story. Now, this one's a sad one, more so than the others. All right. This one is the ghost of Multnomah Falls. Multnomah. Now, Multnomah is the name of a tribe of Native American tribe, excuse me, that inhabited Oregon for centuries, and particularly this region where Multnomah Falls are. So let me show you what Multnomah Falls looks like. It is quite picturesque, quite breathtaking, quite beautiful. There is one picture of it. Let me show you another picture. Hold on. Next picture coming up right now. I like this one even better. This one taken in the fall from a distance. So quite a beautiful scenery where this particular story takes place. All right, so remember these falls because that is the focus of this story. Now, the story takes place, I don't know when. It takes place, it could have taken place hundreds of years ago for all I know. Because it deals with the Multnomah people. And the story goes that there was a very old chief at the time who had one child, a beautiful daughter that he loved very much. And for years, he searched for the proper brave to marry her. And he eventually finds him from a neighboring tribe of the same people. And she falls deeply in love with him. And so much so that this is the perfect match. And they plan to have a wonderful wedding, and they invite all the neighboring tribes to come and have this massive celebration for this union of the chief's daughter and this other brave. Now, in the course of this celebration, unfortunately, a rare sickness hits the people there, and everyone begins to become ill and looks like they're dying. And in fact, the medicine men cannot cure it. No one's ever seen this. And this is way before the white man ever came here. So it's not smallpox. It's some other type of disease that nobody knows what caused it. So the sickness is spreading and nobody knows how to deal with it. And it looks like the entire tribe might be wiped out from the sickness. So the chief pulls together a council of all the local chiefs in the area, as well as the medicine men, and asks for some type of plan to be put together to fight this, to help to save the tribe before it gets annihilated. And the chiefs get together, the medicine men get together, and in the midst of this discussion, one of the most powerful medicine men stands up and says that he has received a vision from the Great Spirit. And the Great Spirit tells him that this disease will wipe out their people unless they sacrifice a young maiden to the Great Spirit. And this young maiden that's sacrificed must be the daughter of someone who's very important. Well, the chiefs hear this, and the old chief who's really leading this hears this as well and decides, I'm going to take a day to think about this. He realizes that his daughter could fall victim to this. He also realizes that there are other chiefs and medicine men there who also had daughters, maiden daughters, who could also be sacrificed. So it wasn't just his daughter that was risking it at this point. So he thinks about it overnight and he decides, listen, I am not going to sanction the death of a child or a young maiden for this sake. We will face our fate together. We will all perish if that's the fate that we have to face. So the decision is made. No sacrifice is going to be made. Well, the chief's daughter, the one that was in love and having the wedding, hears this and becomes overwhelmed with guilt. She does not want to see her people destroyed. In fact, she feels that it's her duty as the chief's daughter to sacrifice herself to save her people. So she makes her way up one night to the top of these falls here. Now, at the time, this is just a ridge. It is said that this is just a ridge. There was no falls, no water coming at all. That the river was going in a different direction at the time. So there was no water. It was just a deep ravine ridge. And she stands out there at night alone, and she tries to speak to the Great Spirit. And she asks the Great Spirit, I am here to sacrifice myself if it will save my people. Send me a sign. Send me a sign that will tell me whether I should do this or not. And it is said that as she ended her prayer to the Great Spirit, at that very second, a full moon occurred in front of her into the sky. And she took that as a sign from the Great Spirit that she was to go ahead and take her own life. And she does just that. She steps over the side and plummets 600 feet down to her demise. Now, the next day, the tribe wakes up, and miraculously, the disease is subsiding. People are feeling better. They're feeling strong. There's no threat of people dying any longer. But the chief looks around and cannot find his daughter. And he summons the brave who was to be her husband. And he doesn't know where she is either. So the two of them go off on their own in search of her. And they track her to the bottom of this ravine where they see her poor broken body over the rocks below. And at this point, they are grief-stricken so much that the chief and the brave, scream out to the Great Spirit that, please give us a sign. Give us a sign that the girl that we loved so much is with you and is at peace. And it is said at that very moment, when they finished their prayer, the water came flying out and the falls existed. That this was a sign from the Great Spirit that she did the right thing. She sacrificed herself. The people would live on. And this waterfall was a response to that prayer by the chief and the brave, that she is safe, she is at peace, and the falls are a testament to her for eternity. So a sad story in the fact that she left and sacrificed herself at her youth to save her people. But it's an origin story of these falls, that the river somehow got diverted at the power of the Great Spirit and caused this waterfall to exist. Now, so what's the current ghost story behind the Multnomah Falls? Well, it is said that every winter, this maiden, this Multnomah, it's hard for me to say this name because it's not easy to, as it's written a little different than it would be pronounced. Multnomah. The Multnomah maiden will appear at the very top of that ridge there, dressed completely in white, just observing, looking around, looking at the beauty of the area where she took her own life and which was created in her honor by the Great Spirit. Some people say also that if you stand at the bottom, there's a pool of water, obviously, from the falls, that if you look into the water in a certain angle, you will see the face of the maiden underwater. You'll see the reflection of the maiden as if she's standing beside you looking into the water, which is very creepy. Others say they feel her presence. If they stand in the area, they feel the presence of her. And it's described as a warming, protective presence, but indeed a supernatural presence they'll feel. Some will also say that they see shadows and lights, etc., much like the other story. But the full apparition of her tends to happen in the winter, when it's very cold. She'll appear at the top of the where she leapt to her demise. So the ghost of Multnomah Falls lives on, watching her area, which she sacrificed herself for her people so her people could survive. So that's your third story. All right. Very, very good there. All right. What do we got here? All right. Let's close this out. Stop sharing that. And the last story of the evening is again a witch story. Now, this one's called The Witch of Lafayette, Oregon. Now, The Witch of Lafayette, Oregon is really a story, again, based on reality. There is documented proof of what occurred in Lafayette in 1885. 1885, this drama unfolds. Now, let me show you what the area in question looks like in terms of the haunting. Now, the haunting, and I'll get to the backstory in a second, but the haunting takes place in this particular cemetery here. It's a pioneer cemetery. It's called Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery. It's very old. It's from the 1800s. And this is where the ghostly activity occurs. It's desolate. There are no modern people buried here. It is only folks from the 1800s and the early 1900s buried here. And as you can see, it tends to get in disrepair also because there's no living relatives for these people. All right, so let's get to the story. (1885). The Marple family moves into Lafayette, Oregon. Now, the Marple family is consisted of Richard, his wife, Julia, and his mother, Anne, the Marples. And I believe Julia had a child, too. So I think he has a child, too. Now, Richard is really the main person here. And the witch, which gets the name of the witch, is Anne, his mother, Anne Marple. And you'll see why she gets the name of the witch. So, at this time, Lafayette was booming. It was going to be, or was predicted to be, a major hub of settlement here. And Richard and his wife and his kid and his mother move into this area because it's said that there's a lot to be made here. There's a lot of money to be made here. Well, Richard, unfortunately, cannot hold a job. And it turns out that he is a scammer. And so is his entire family. So is his mother. So is his wife. These are grifters. They're there to take advantage of people. They're not there to legitimately settle. They're not there to legitimately do anything except grift people out of their money. So in 1886, Anna, his mother, hooks up with a storekeeper by the name of David Coker, Coker, who's about 56 years old. He's about 10 years older than Anna. And she begins to use her feminine wiles upon him to set him up so that her son can steal from him and pick him dry, take everything they can from him. Now, what happens here is up for debate. But what we do know happened for fact is that on Halloween night, 1886, David Coker is murdered with an axe in his store. And not only is he murdered, he's hacked up pretty darn bad. He was hacked up bad. And the store is ransacked. Everything of value is either stolen or missing or destroyed. So it is a big trauma for this versioning Lafayette town. A big drama. No one has ever heard anything like this before, exposed to anything so gruesome as this. So what happens? Sheriff Harris brings in the Marples for questioning because obviously they're related. They're known to be related to Coker. It is well known that Anna was shacking up with Coker, so they're the prime suspects. Well, Sheriff Harris brings Richard in and separates him from the others. And Richard maintains his innocence, though he does say he hated Coker. He despised him for being with his mother. He didn't like that. But he maintains his innocence, and he says that the other marbles will be his alibi for the time period in question, Halloween night. Where was he? He says he was with them at home. Well, unfortunately, the Marples did not get their story straight because when Anna and Julia are questioned by Sheriff Harris, they tell different stories. And whatever they say they were, they could not, it doesn't match where Richard says he was. So there's no alibi for Richard. So it becomes pretty clear that Richard is the prime suspect. Now, Sheriff Harris also begins to collect evidence, and he finds a couple of things. Bloody footprints led from Coker's store to the Marple house. Bloody footprints. Kind of a giveaway. Richard Marble has in his possession a blood-soaked suit or a shirt that he wore that he claims is blood-soaked because he killed a pig for dinner. Unfortunately, there's no remnants of a pig to be found anywhere. Also found in his possession are tools for breaking in and entering into a house. So it becomes pretty clear that Richard is the guy that did this. And a trial is held, and Richard is convicted of first-degree murder. Now, Richard goes to the gallows swearing that he's innocent. He swears that he's innocent. He's convicted on April 9th, 1887. And on November 11th, he goes to meet his maker at the gallows. And when he's brought up there, they put a black hood over him. And as they're putting on a black hood over him, he screams out, "Murderers, murderers, may God judge you all." Well, with that, they put the noose around his neck. They pull the lever, and he falls down. Now, unfortunately, what happened is whoever the hangman was did not do the noose properly or did not tighten it properly. So what happens is his neck does not break, and he actually chokes to death. Over 18 minutes long, he chokes to death. He's left there to dangle and grasp for air for 18 minutes. A gruesome way to go. And it's done in front of his mother, Anna, and his wife, Julia. Now, as this is happening, Anna screams out and throws out this curse, which earns her the name of the Witch of Lafayette. She says that this town, you have committed a crime against God, and that this town will suffer 3 fires and will never recover and will fall into rubble and will be destroyed because of the injustice you did to me and my son. Now, what happens after this? Well, Anna and Julia and the son or the child, I don't know if it was a son or a daughter, they moved to a neighboring town. Now, here's the creepy part. After this curse is said, misfortune hits Lafayette majorly. And right after they move away, the Yamhill River, which was the main artery near the town and was bringing in business, begins to inexplicably dry up. It gets to the point where it gets so small that boats cannot go down it and traffic stops coming in. So the town begins to choke economically because there's nothing going through, nothing coming in and out. After that, smallpox hits the town, and it hits it pretty bad, and many people die from smallpox. Then in 1904, a fire comes and wipes out the majority of the town, and it is at that particular time where the old marble house burns down, and they actually find the axe that Richard used for the murder. It was found there. And again, in 1934, a fire erupts again and spreads through the town. So that third fire had never happened, but regardless, the town hit such misfortune that it never boomed. It never got to the level where people thought it was going to be. It remained a small, tiny town with no industry and no future. Now, is that because of the curse of Anna Marple? Who knows? But that's what the locals believe happened. Now, what did Richard take when he murdered Coker? He took $203. That's what he got for his troubles, $203. And how do we know a lot of this stuff? It turns out that he was definitely not an innocent man, because while he was in jail waiting for the gallows, he confessed to a cellmate exactly what he did and how he did it. And after the fact, the sheriff went over and double checked the facts, and it all made sense. It all made perfect sense. And it also made perfect sense that Anna was in on it, and that the original plan was that they were to drug him. And Anna actually did drug him. Anna was with Coker that night, drugged him. He fell asleep. And at that point, Richard was supposed to enter the home or enter the store and loot it. And they were all supposed to take away with whatever money they get, and let out from the town and leave him when he wakes up to find that there is nothing left. But unfortunately, she did not drug him correctly, because he wakes up in the process of this happening. A scuffle occurs, and Richard ends him right there in front of Anna. So Anna was never charged with this as an accomplice, even though she was part of this. Probably because she left town. Who knows? Probably because there really was no witnesses at that point. Richard was dead. The only other witness was a hearsay witness of the cellmate. So there really wasn't enough evidence to convict her. But she definitely was involved in this. It seems likely that she was. So, where's the ghost story that still exists today? Well, this particular cemetery in question here is where Richard is buried, and he's buried in an unknown grave, an unmarked grave. So nobody knows exactly which one is Richard. But he was buried here in an unmarked grave. And it is said that his mother's spirit comes to this graveyard every so often to look for her son, and people see her darting between cemetery monuments, darting here and there in the darkness, darting back and forth. That at night she will scream in agony that of the loss of her son. And many people have heard these inexplicable screams coming from the area, like high-pitched screams of agony that are attributed to Anna's ghost haunting this area, this cemetery in question. And the most disturbing part about all of this is that it is said that some people, while they're in the cemetery at night, if you go there at night, they get physically assaulted by a spirit, in the fact that they have cuts and scratches on their arms. So really negative energy here from evil people. I mean, they were quite evil people. And it seems to be carrying on in the afterlife. Anna Marble returning in agony, looking for revenge for the loss of her son, even though they were in on a murder together. So there you have it, the Witch of Lafayette, Oregon, who basically, through her curse, destroyed the town's future. At least that's what we say. At least that's what they say. All right, so there you have your stories. To just recap real quick, you had the ghost horse thief of Scapanoma Park. You had the Witch's Castle of Forest Park. You have the ghost of Multnomah Falls. And finally, you have the Witch of Lafayette, Oregon. Your Oregon ghost stories for the evening. So I hope you enjoyed them. All right. So what did you think of that? I hope you liked them. Let's get rid of this. If we can here. What's going on here? There we go. Full screen. There we go. Lenny's back and ready to go. All right, let's move on to our next segment, which is our paranormal videos. All right. These, again, are pretty weak. Like I said, I wish I could find some good ones, but I really can't. So if anyone ever has good ones you want me to look at, please email me or let me know somehow, and we will get them on here and we will talk about them and we will watch them and talk about them. But let me see what I can do here. All right, let me set this up right. I've got 3 of them for you. All right, here we go. Now, this first one takes place in a cemetery. Now, as you can see, a lot of these tombstones look alike. They're all white. And then there's these monuments, these bigger ones, these 2 monuments. And I want you to keep your eye on them as I play this, because you will see something on this, the one on the right here, you'll see something happening here. Right here. And you see actually the camera zooming in. Now, the story behind this cammering of this is that supposedly this was set up as a ghost hunting type of event, and that the ghost hunters put up a camera in the cemetery with motion detection, and it's programmed that if there's any type of motion, it will zero in and in on the area. So there was motion over here between the 2, so the camera begins to zoom in. So I'll play that to you again. Right, Delilah. Looks like peekaboo there, right? Some type of white figure poking out behind the monument. And part of it, and it seems to kind of evaporate at the end there. It kind of seems to disappear a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Hi, CG2. I didn't know you were here. Hope I didn't miss you before. But thank you for coming in and hanging out a bit. So I don't know about this one. What do you think about this one? Do you think this is real? Do you think this is a hoax? You know, I always say ghost hunters are a little bit suspect because they need to find ghosts. It's part of their shtick. They have to find ghosts. And if they don't, people aren't going to follow them and watch them. So it's always a bit suspect in my eyes. But there's something going on here. I think it's either staged or it's legitimate, because I don't see how this is a trick of the light or anything or a reflection. It looks very purposeful here. And I think I don't know. And from a hoax perspective, it's pretty hard to make it like vanish at the end like that, right? That's pretty hard to do that. Of course, it's blurry, so it's not crystal clear. But I don't know. Oh yeah, I don't know what that is, Delilah. That head here. The I don't. I think that's the reflection. I think that's the reflection of one of the ghost hunters who was looking at the film. This is basically they filmed the film, so to speak. They filmed it on the computer screen. So I think that's the reflection of one of the ghost hunters reviewing the film. So Tony asks, you can see or says you can see through what we can see of it, right? You could see it's kind of transparent, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean this one is kind of believable to me. I think I can't really debunk this one. So this one isn't bad. I mean, there's not much to see there, just a little peekaboo behind the monument, but it does look, it could be something. I don't know. All right, so let's go on to the next one here. If I can here. What am I doing here? What is going on here? All right, let me close this out. How do I stop sharing this? There we go. All right, there we go. Good. All right. Next one. Here we go. All right. Now, this one. This is taken in Florida. And it's taken from a night observation cam, like a motion cam on a house. Now watch what happens here. Hold on here. Look over to the right. You see this house over here underneath the duck, underneath the StreamYard duck over here. I want you to watch what goes on over here because something fishy is going to happen here. So here we go. I don't know what this is. Hello, Don McHugh. How are you? Surviving? Good to see you. Let's play that again. What do you think this is? It kind of looks like someone walking, right? You see movement, like someone arms and legs maybe moving. Right? I don't know. But here's my problem with this one. If that's a person, if that is a person, it's like 12 feet tall because it towers above the roof of this house right here. I mean, that's not. Here's the light post here, and this is the roof of the house. Here's the door here. Like this would be kind of a normal sized person here, right? This level. This thing is much taller. Starts up here. The peak of it is up here, and it goes this way, and then it fades away here. So I don't know. It could be reflection. Could be a cloud, mist of some type. What do you think about it being a sprinkler? What if there was a sprinkler that went on and sprayed up water here and the wind was blowing in this direction? Think of it from that. Do you think that is possible? Like water would shoot up and went this way. Like think about that. Water shooting up and then blowing this way. That would kind of explain why it dissipates. And there's always tons of sprinklers in Florida. Look at this green lawn. Look at that. Sprinkler, right? That's my guess. I don't think it's a fake. I don't think it's, I don't think it's a hoax or anything like that. I just think that's what it might be. It might be just the water spraying from a ground sprinkler. Because it's way too tall to be a spirit of a person. The LSD, Bobo says. Why, they take LSD in Florida? More so than any place else? Uh, yeah, look at that. That's Floridian grass right there. Look at that. Green as can be. Look at that. All right. Let's get rid of this guy. All right, so we're going to say that's debunked. Now let's go on to the next one. This one, I got to tell you, this one's troubling to me. This one really, creeps me out. If I saw this happening in my house, I would not like this. So here we go. Let's do this. All right. This is a cat video. Remember the cat videos we've had? We had a couple of cats videos before. But watch this guy. Watch this black cat. Watch what happens to him. The poor guy gets pulled, yanked. His tail gets yanked back. Now, he is on his back when he initially gets pulled. Look at that. He is on his back when his tail gets pulled. There's no way he could be moving himself. His paws are not contacting the ground. Let's do that. Let's go look at this in slow motion. Because this is disturbing to me. Look at this. Here he is laying here. His tail is grabbed and he's yanked. And when he's yanked, his paws are not touching the ground. Look at that. He flips around though, but when he's initially pulled, he is not touching the ground. Now, unless they tied something to this poor animal's tail, which I think is abusive. Let's see. Oh, no, Gerard wants me to do it in reverse. All right, let's do it in reverse. All right, he's jumping around. After he gets pulled, he's jumping around here, right? He's jumping around, jumping around. I mean, at this point, he's definitely jumping around. He got pulled, and he's jumping about. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He's trying to get possession of his body again here, but when he's initially pulled, look at that. I don't know. I don't. I agree with you. I don't like it that the possibility of someone doing this to a cat to make a ghost video. I don't, because that's the only thing I could think of is that if this isn't real, if this isn't a real paranormal action here, they had to tie something to his, like a wire or something, tie something to his tail, which I think is pretty difficult to do. Like, how are you going to tie that to the tail to stay, especially when you're pulling it and then yank him with it? I don't know. It's not good. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, to me, it's if this is a hoax, it's animal abuse to yank a cat like that. Oh, that area. Poor thing, getting yanked around. Yeah, it's now let's think about something here. If he look when he gets to the bottom, when he gets control of himself, look what he does with his tail, though. Look what he does with his tail. Look what he does. He's like manipulating his tail as if to get off something that's there. At least that's what it looks like to me. He's trying to get rid of whatever's there on his tail. So I don't know. This could have been a hoax, which is bothering me. This could have been a hoax. Yeah, Don, his tail was between his legs. Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it was yanked out though, and I don't know. I don't know. I just don't like the fact that he was, once he gets pulled, it looks like he's trying to get the string off of his. I mean, if there was a string there, but it looks like he's trying to get it off his tail. So I don't know. So I'm going to say that because of that, I mean, he was definitely pulled. That wasn't his own motion, but I think it's a hoax. I think somebody yanked it, tied something to him, some type of fish wire. I don't know how they got it to stick to his tail enough to pull him like that, but I think they did. Hello, Pollock. How are you, my friend? Thank you for joining. So there you have it. That's your third and final paranormal video for the evening. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What happened there? We don't want to do that. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So there's your 4 stories and your paranormal videos for the week. So next week, we're going to talk about some Irish ghost stories in honor of St. Patrick's Day, right, Lenny? And I think you will enjoy that. I hope you will enjoy that. I still haven't finished my research on them. So I'm looking forward to doing that this week. And then I'll be ready for next Friday. Thank you, Delilah. And thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. So, again, if anyone has any thoughts, I'm sorry, if anyone has any suggestions about topics you'd like me to research, or if you have videos that you want to show me, we had a couple of videos submitted in the past, which we showed on here, and photos we showed on here, which are pretty good to talk about. So if you have any of that, send it my way. And I think that's about it for tonight. So as always, I say thank you all for watching, spending some time with me. Honored that you do. And I will say, as always, stay scared because it's fun, and God bless you. I will see you next week on behalf of Victor and Lenny. Bye-bye.